Makes sense. I could call to order the September 2024 meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for Knox County. If the clerk would call the roll, please.
Curtis Brown.
Present.
Jonathan Repass. Doug Lloyd.
Present.
Raleigh Lovingood. Cecil Anderson.
Present.
John Elliott.
Present.
Sherry Garrett. Rebecca Longmire. Paul Huff.
Present.
6 members present.
We have a quorum. If you would join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members of the BZA are volunteers from each commission district who do not receive compensation for their work on the board or training they attend. As a quasi-judicial body, we avoid ex parte communication and conduct our business in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. My name is Paul Huff. I'm the chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals. To my right is my co-chairman, and to his right, our county law director. Steve, you have anybody with you?
Yes, today we have myself, Steve Elliott, we have Miranda Ward, we have Mike Reynolds from Knox Planning, I have Kim Jarnigan, Kelly Vaughn, and Tammy Harvey with me also.
Very good. Our voting procedure requires a simple majority of the board members present. Today there are 6 members present. Therefore we require 5 for an affirmative vote. Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to approve last month's minutes.
I make a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Knox County Board of Zoning Appeals is authorized to grant variances and hear other matters by the Tennessee Code and Knox County Zoning Ordinance, specifically 6.60 Board of Zoning Appeals. These laws prescribe strict parameters, the meeting of which is required to grant a variance. The burden of proof that an application meets these parameters rests on the applicant. Quoting from Knox County Code of Ordinances 6.60.04, variances. The purpose of a variance is to modify the strict application of the specific requirements of this ordinance in the case of exceptionally irregular, narrow, shallow, or steep lots, or other exceptional physical conditions whereby such strict application would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship which would deprive an owner of the reasonable use of their land. The variance shall be used only where necessary to overcome some obstacle which is preventing an owner from using their property as the zoning ordinance intended. For each matter, the clerk will read the request into the record. The chair will then ask if the applicant is present. The chair will then ask if there is opposition or other speakers who wish to present. You do not have to come forward at this time. Once we determine the speakers for an item, we will call on the governmental agencies such as Knox County Codes, Planning, or Engineering to make statements regarding the facts pertinent to the property and background of the request. Board members may ask questions of the governmental agencies once they have made their statements. The chair will then call on the applicant to come forward, state their name and address for the record, and present their evidence and reasoning supporting the granting of a variance. If there is no opposition, the applicant has 10 minutes to present their case. If there is opposition, the applicant and opposition have up to 15 minutes. If the after the application's presentation, the board members may ask questions of the applicant. The chair will then call for opposition or other parties who have up to 15 minutes to speak. This 15 minutes applies to all parties, so if there are multiple parties wishing to speak, please determine how you are going to divide your time beforehand. After the opponents present their opposition, The board members may ask questions of the opponents. Finally, there will be a discussion of the case by the board, during which time board members may ask further questions of the parties that have already testified. The board will then make any determinations it deems necessary. Our bylaws allow an applicant at the initial hearing of a matter to request a deferral of 30 or 60 days without prejudice. In the event of a deferral of an application or failure to appear, any opponents may be heard on the record at a meeting where the application they oppose appears on the agenda. Mr. Law Director, would you please swear in the testimony of today?
All right, if you're here to speak to this board, either for or against any item on the agenda, please stand and raise your right hand. And do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, be seated, please.
Steve, are there any changes to the agenda?
There is none, other than the item 5A is going to be deferred again, and it shows that on the agenda, so that'd be the only
Okay.
thing from it.
At this time, I'd like to mention that the meeting in October will be on the 30th of the month, which is the 5th Wednesday of the month, not the 4th, which is our normal meeting time. Just so if there's anyone that needs to come back, wants to come back, that's when it will be held. If we could move on now to item 4A.
It's a request of Kevin Franks for waiver of periphery boundary from 35 feet to 5 feet at 3621 Broken Wing Road, CLT map 077, Group OB, parcel 005, Zone PR, in the 6th Commission District.
Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition? Statements from Knox County codes, if any? Okay. Could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Kevin Franks, 3621 Broken Wing Road.
Pursuant to Knox County Code 6.60.04, what evidence do you have to present that supports your application for variance?
Let's see, so any other location in the yard would be on top of my septic drain or on top of the area where my wife's garden is expanding. All of my neighbors have sheds at the rear of their property as well. I've consulted all of them, and all have given me approval.
Allow me to help you out just a tad. Based on the information you provided, it seems that you have a fairly narrow lot.
Yes, sir, it's a narrow lot. It's sloped. On the picture, you can see at the bottom, it's sloped off to the side. There's really no other reasonable spot to put a shed on the property.
Very well. Any discussion by the board on this request? Mr. Elliott, I believe this is in your district.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the waiver of the periphery boundary from 35 feet to 5 feet based on the narrowness of the lot, the septic drain field, and the precedence that's already been set by the neighbors. Appreciate you checking with your neighbors.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board. And a small request, being a service member and one of the few remaining homes on the area, and I suspect the only person who's actually applied for a variance, would the Board consider waiving the fee, possibly?
I guess I'd have to ask what grounds other than being a service member?
That and I suspect the only person in the neighborhood to actually go through the variance process. I wanted to make sure all my I's were dotted, T's were crossed, get a reputable provider to provide the shed.
Okay, I don't want to go any further on that because there are people here that, yeah. Well, I will entertain a motion to waive the fee. Having failed a motion to waive, I'm sorry.
Well, I appreciate the consideration anyways. Thank you all.
You're welcome. 4B.
4B is a request of Michael Cody for waiver of front yard setback from 35 feet to 10 feet and waiver to allow the swimming pool to be located in the front yard at 9902 Winding Hill Lane, CLT map 104, Group MJ, parcel 034, zone PR in the 3rd Commission District.
Is the applicant present? Yes, sir. Is there any opposition to this? Yes, sir. If the applicant would come forward, please. Any statements from Knox County Codes?
None at this time.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
I'm Michael Cody. I'm the contractor. The address of the property is going to be 9902 Winding Hill Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee 37931.
And pursuant to codes 6.60.04, what evidence do you have to present that supports your application for a variance?
There's a gas line easement that runs through the back of the property, making that being the only potential build site for the pool.
So you're claiming an exceptional physical feature that's
Ye-
preventing you from locating it behind the house?
Yes, sir. We did go through the homeowner, sorry for interrupting. We did go through the homeowners association for approval on this project. We had submitted to them a plan, which is what you guys have here. They came back with some notes about some aesthetically pleasing features to be able to block the pool view from the back, and the homeowners association did approve that.
We appreciate your input on the homeowners association. However, good or bad, it has really no bearing in this proceeding. But it's good to know that they're on board.
Due diligence.
Any questions from the board on to the applicant?
Do we have clarification on how far the gas line easement goes from the back yard? Like I see it's 60 feet to the edge of the pool, but where does the gas line easement end?
It looks like from the plat, it's a 50-foot wide easement. I can't tell, does it go all the way to the property line, or is it?
Yes, it does.
Yes,
It starts at the property line and goes into the yard exactly 50 feet.
Okay, thank you.
And to clarify, did we ever get clarification this is a gas line or a petroleum line? Not that it makes a whole lot of difference. I just want to make sure the record's correct.
I think maybe I spoke, I said it was Colonial in the agenda review, but it looks like it's owned by Duke Energy Natural Gas, so it is a natural gas line.
Very good. Okay, I think it will hear from the opposition now, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, please. Just please remember that you have 15 minutes total, so.
State your name and address.
And yeah, I'll need all three names and addresses.
Okay. I'm Hannah Jones, and my address is 9934 Winding Hill Lane.
I'm Wendy Manley, 9930 Winding Hill Lane.
And I'm Kathy Irvin, 9933 Winding Hill Lane.
We are here in opposition to this proposal. I want to speak. I know you said that the HOA board doesn't have any consideration in this matter, and I'm glad to hear that, but I am an HOA board member, and this proposal did fail the board on 2 occasions, and a temporary board member had to be brought in to be the deciding vote. That is the only reason that it passed, and that board member was just brought in for this one vote. I would be in opposition to that. I remain in opposition to this proposal, as does my neighbor here, who is also on the board. And I brought this letter from another board member, Mr. Bond, and he would also be in opposition. If this vote were taken today, it would fail, and it would continue to fail as long as the board remains in its current composition. I believe this pool would be located in a highly visible area in our neighborhood on a very highly trafficked street, very, very close to the road. It's a corner lot, so it's very prominent in the subdivision, and the pool is just not located in a reasonable area. If it could be in the backyard, that would be a different matter, but this lot, it does not allow for a backyard pool, and I would argue it shouldn't allow for a side or front yard pool either. We have no visible pools in our neighborhood, and this one would be out there for everyone to see with absolutely no privacy. You kind of come up a little rise when you're approaching the house from the entrance of the subdivision, and you would be looking down on the pool as you're going by on the road. So I remain in opposition as a board member of our HOA association. I would continue to vote no to this proposal. It's not personal, but I don't think the pool is conveniently located for this lot. It's just not a lot that can accommodate a pool. I'll allow my neighbors to speak.
It's all about location. I've been on the board since 2020 in the neighborhood, and I've driven in other neighborhoods too, and I see no pools on the side of the house, and it cannot be in the rear because of the gas line, and it's also a corner, very visible lot. And I have voted, no to this, and I think, one wrong decision makes other people feel then they're entitled to do things that aren't really proper either. And we all want to live in harmony in the neighborhood. And I would be very disappointed if this went through.
I have lived in this neighborhood 12 years. I think I'm the longest resident that's been there at this time. And I can say that the people in the neighborhood have worked really hard to maintain a good community. Everyone seems to get along really well. We like to keep the neighborhood looking nice. And this pool is going to be the landscaping starting 6 feet off the road, and the fence that's visible there is already 6 feet off the road. The landscaping they're proposing is right against the fence. The trees that are supposed to block the pool from the road are at maximum height, approximately 15 feet tall, and maximum width at full growth is 2 feet wide. And even at that, at maximum growth, who knows how many years that would be before it reached there, you're still going to see through cone-shaped trees, and the pool will be visible from every angle. I brought pictures of houses that are directly across the street from the pool. And I think that the pool would adversely affect the home values of not only all the houses in the neighborhood, but especially these houses that have a view from their front windows into someone else's pool house, pool pump, and all the toys and accessories that go with having a pool. The houses in our neighborhood have increased at least 50% in value, and some sales prices even more than that since I've been there, and we would like to maintain that. If these people lose the selling value of their homes because of a pool directly across the street, it's going to affect all the houses' selling values in the neighborhood when they start doing comparisons. So I speak for myself on this, but I have talked to lots of other people in the neighborhood, and most are working full-time and are not able to come to this meeting today. But I hope you will take into consideration how this would affect all the other houses in the neighborhood and our values that we have tried so hard to maintain. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Question for the opposition. I appreciate your concerns. They're perhaps valid, but do you have any data on the impact to sale prices of homes, or is this simply an opinion?
This is an opinion from a person who has lived in multiple houses. This is my latest one. Lived in Kingsport, Johnson City, Piney Flats, and 2 different locations here in the Knoxville area. And we looked at lots of housing. I know that if I had visited a neighborhood and had a pool pretty much straight across from my house, I would not want to pay $650,000, which is what these houses are selling for. So I would probably be looking in another neighborhood or offering a lower price. So it was a personal opinion. I did not take a survey on that, and I have no statistics on it.
I'd like to speak to that too. While I have no other data to offer either, but if you can imagine yourself in that situation, if you're shopping for a home and you're looking at different homes that you may want to consider purchasing, if you thought about walking out your front door and seeing a pool directly across the street from your home, or from your second story, you're looking right down on someone else's pool, which you may be hearing the noise from at all hours, day or night even, you might reconsider that. I certainly wouldn't want to look out my front door and be greeted with a pool every single morning right across the street.
Could I add one other thing? The people, before they ever bought the property, were also checking about the possibility of wanting a pool, and they were asking different people in the neighborhood, they were asking the gas line, other people, and their realtor about whether a pool could be put there. They were told that there just wasn't enough room for the pool. They had to set it back, I believe it was 35 feet. But they kept persisting, and they went ahead and bought the house anyway, knowing all this. And they asked one person at that time that was on the board, and after a while, he finally said, well, I guess anything's possible. You could always just check and see. So they have pushed and pushed until they've gotten this far. So they bought the house knowing that there was a good chance that it would not be, they would not be able to get one within the correct variance of the road.
Any other questions from the board?
Chairman, could I make a correction on a statement I made earlier?
Of course.
The gas line easement is 50 feet wide, and it's 10 feet, about 10 feet off their rear property line, so it consumes about 60 feet of their backyard, not just 50 feet off the property line.
Okay, thank you. That is germane to the question.
I've got a question for you, Steve. This pool, is it going to be dug down into ground pool, or is it above ground pool?
It looks like it's a below-grade pool with a fiberglass. Is it fiberglass, I'm assuming? I would prefer the contractor come up and address that, though. That's
Okay. My question to the contractor, I don't know if you, I guess you're here to speak for the people who live in their home.
I do. It's a fiberglass insert pool, so that'll be an in-ground built pool.
Okay. Knowing that the gas line takes up 60% of the yard, did they look at doing an above-ground pool, which would simplify all of this?
My first answer to that is you're gonna have them after you on that one, I think. They're, no, that wasn't even looked at.
Mr. Brown, an above-ground pool wouldn't be allowed to go in the easement either, so it just, no type of structure would be allowed in the easement.
Any other questions? As the applicant stated, he does have an exceptional physical condition, that being the underground or the gas line. This use is not excluded in the zone that applies to this property. Considering that a pool is a beneficial use of the property, denying the variance would deny them beneficial use. And it appears, at least to me, that the variance is the minimum adjustment necessary for the reasonable use of the property. And there's been no concrete evidence, no data to support any injury to any third party. Opinions are good, but opinions vary. Data speaks for itself. So, Mr. Lloyd, I'll throw it to you for a recommendation on a motion.
Okay, I would like to move that we approve the application for the property at 9902 Wandering Hill Lane to allow the pool. It does appear to be beneficial to the property owner. The natural gas easement is an extreme issue to the property owner, and I feel as though that they meet the letter of the law.
Well, they do, according to.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any additional comment, discussion?
Let me ask, Steve, what size lot is this?
Do you still have the plat open?
0.31 acres, it says on the.
It's 13,465 square feet.
So it's 1
I can roughly calculate the square footage taken out of by the easement, which we talked about earlier, it's about 60 times. And about 6,280 square feet of that is consumed by the gas easement. And that's approximate without knowing exact measurements, but that's approximate.
60% of that.
So about
Okay,
half the lot is consumed by easement.
yeah, okay, that's,
And I'd like to make this observation. Even if the gas line wasn't there and they could locate this in the back of the yard, somebody's going to be able to see that pool. Somebody that doesn't live there is going to be able to see the pool. So, again, without data indicating injury from devalued property, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of granting the variance, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Item 4C is a request of Aaron Braden for waiver of lot intensity from 1 acre to 0.83 of an acre at 6519 Borf Road, CLT map 021, parcel 212, zoned AG in the 8th Commission District.
Is the applicant present?
Yes, sir.
Is there any opposition to this? Any statements from codes?
None at this time, but I'm sure there'll be some questions once we get going here.
Could you please state your name and address for the record, sir?
Aaron Braden, 6534 Colossal Lane.
Pursuant to Knox County Code 6.60.04, what evidence do you have to present that supports your application for a variance?
So first, I'd like to thank you all for allowing me the time to come and present my request. And if it's okay with you all, I'd like to just read directly off this paper to ensure I don't leave out any of the facts. All right. The property in question belongs to my grandfather, who needs occasional assistance due to the recent passing of his wife. Being able to purchase this property from my grandfather would immensely help his financial situation and put me close at hand if I'm needed. It is a family-owned property, and each would still have the required 100-foot of road frontage. I'd like to subdivide the property into 2 parcels. KGIS shows his property at 2 acres, and he has paid property tax on 2 acres since he purchased it. However, upon further inspection by a surveyor, the current deed has the property reduced to just around 2 acres. As it is zoned agricultural, the minimum lot size to subdivide is 1 acre and requires the 100 feet of road frontage. The required access easement for properties 6513 and 6515 Borough Road runs up the left side of the property, leaving the proposed second parcel at 0.83 acres. Rezoning is out of the question due to the lack of sewer. So if the lot intensity variance is approved, I'll only subdivide with the approval of the second drain field from Knox County Health Department. For additional information, I prepared those little packets for you guys. It includes the original deed, which states that the property was 2 acres. Also, I have the hand-drawn map of the lot just from a picture off KGIS. It shows the original house and my proposed house next to it. Each would still have the 100-foot of road frontage. You can see on the left side of that screen, that is the driveway access that goes all the way up the left side of the property and takes away from it. And I think that's how we ended up with 1.83 acres instead of the original 2 acres.
Very well. Any questions from the board? I have a question that you may or may not know the answer to. When was that easement, I don't know if the right word is purchased, installed, made a real thing?
I'm not sure of the answer to that at the moment, but I could find out.
Would it be safe for me to say it happened after your grandfather purchased the property?
Yes.
So he purchased the property at 2 acres?
I believe so, to my knowledge. He's
Well,
always
that's what the
believed it to
deed
be.
says, So,
What was
right.
that?
I say that is what the deed says.
The current deed says 1.83.
No, I mean, his original deed showed 2 acres.
The original deed for that piece of property shows 2 acres.
So it's reasonable to assume that the easement came in after he purchased the property.
Yes. Thanks, Steve.
That's important, just for reasons we may or may not delve into here. Any other?
Chairman?
Yeah.
It looks like we've got some new information here, and we pulled up the plat for the neighboring property. The easement is actually on the neighbor's property. If you look at the plat shown here, the easement is recorded on the other property, but the driveway is on this gentleman's property. Therefore, that's why we're asking for the easement when they do a new plat. So that brings in a whole nother little scenario to it. But
Well, rather than encumber this piece of property with an easement that already exists on, why not just move the road? I mean, technically, the road's built on private property that it has no right to occupy.
I'm not an attorney, but that'd be my interpretation. There may be prescriptive rights there that I'm not aware of.
But it's shown on the plat as being on these
But
properties.
it's showing his property over here, but it's actually not. It's over here.
The easement's on somebody else's property, the driveway's on his property.
That's the, yeah, that's the.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
I'll state that because this has an exceptional physical feature, that being a driveway, the easement notwithstanding, I'll entertain a motion to approve this variance.
Yeah,
I'll second.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to grant the variance, because even if the driveway gets moved, he has his full acre. If it doesn't, then we give him a variance for it.
Exactly, and I would suggest, not a requirement, but I would suggest that you might want to talk to a title attorney to see if the easement for that driveway already exists on somebody else's property. I'm not sure what you can do, but I think you have a good case to have it moved, the driveway. But a title attorney should be able to give you some guidance on that. But the motion before the board is to approve your variance. It's been made and seconded. I made the motion, Chief, Mr. Brown seconded it. Any further discussion? Hopefully. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Your application's approved.
All right. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, this is B4D.
Request of Carlos Garcia for waiver of front yard setback from 35 feet to 17 feet at 7131 Remagen Lane, CLT map 137, Group AC, parcel 02201, Zone RA in the 9th Commission District.
You are the applicant?
Yes, Carlos Garcia, 7131 Remagen Lane.
Is there any opposition to this? No. Any statements from Knox County Codes?
None at this time.
You've already stated your name for the record. Can you tell us, pursuant to Code 6.60.04, what evidence you have to present that supports your application for a variance?
Yeah, so if you look at the property, it's like a pizza shape. So the really good area to build is like at the front because it gets narrow in the back. And that back part, we ran into a lot of rocks. Right there, and that's where the problem is. So that's why I requested the variance to stay within the area of the property that's buildable.
So if I hear what you're telling us correctly, you have an irregular shaped lot that's very steep, and you have exceptional physical conditions, that being rock outcroppings. Is that correct?
Correct.
Any discussion from the board? Any questions? I do have one question. Are you the developer or just the builder of the property?
No, I bought it. It's mine. It's my lot. Yeah.
You're the owner of the property?
Yeah, I'm the owner. Yeah.
This is the one that has the cul-de-sac above it.
This is mine. I will state for the record that the conditions, topography are not generally found in the rest of the district. We have a lot of rocky areas, but it's not that prevalent. In this particular neighborhood or area it is, but not the entire district. And what you're wanting to do with the property is not excluded by the current zoning. I can't say that denying the variance would deprive you of the beneficial use of the property, because you could possibly jackhammer the rock out and figure out a way to get it further back, but it would be extremely difficult. It would be a hardship, for sure. I think the variance is the minimum adjustment necessary for the reasonable use of the property, and the variance is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. Therefore, I will make a motion that we grant this variance. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No, motion carries. Your application is approved.
Thank you.
I believe that's the last thing on the. Oh, yeah, we need to take action on 5A.
Yeah, I feel like we did help some people out.
5A was deferred from last month to this month, but now for reasons the applicant ran out of time, she's asked to defer it again for another 30 days. When she left here, she needed it surveyed, and apparently a survey has not been done yet. She's got it on order, but it just hasn't been done. So I'll entertain a motion. Yeah, go ahead and read it into the record.
So it's 5A is a request of Tony West, and it's for a waiver of front yard setback from 35 feet to 12 feet, and to allow swimming pool to be located in the front yard at 7642 Dupree Road, CLT map 137, Group IA, parcel 017, zone PR in the 9th Commission District.
And to refresh everybody's memory, this is where we had a request to put a pool in the side yard because the applicant didn't think they had room in the backyard because of where they thought the property line was. Turns out they may actually have enough room to put it in the backyard, but they won't know until they get the property surveyed. She's waiting on the survey, needs an extra 30 days to get that done. So I will make a motion to approve a 30-day deferral on this item.
I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Brown. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? The application's been deferred for another 30 days.
Everybody remember October 30th?
Yeah, everybody remember, October 30th is our next meeting date. Could you please, somebody, make sure she knows that? Kim, can you make sure she knows that it's the 30th, the next meeting?
Yes, when Kim sends out the agenda, we'll make sure to note it on there.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion. Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. We're adjourned.
Not even pie.